evening, paranormal community. Thank you for partaking here at the Odyssey Files. I am your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. David Sorey. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening to our dedicated listeners.
All four of you.
I was going to say all three, but four. Woo! We moved up a step, baby.
We're gaining ground.
We're gaining ground, damn it.
No, but I actually...
Joe Rogan ain't got nothing on us.
Exactly. So I said this to you earlier today.
Yes, sir. What did you say earlier today?
I can't tell if you're just setting me up or you really don't remember.
Did we talk earlier today? You sent me. Oh, no. Message wise. Yeah. Message wise. Sorry. I'm like, we didn't talk earlier today.
No, we didn't talk earlier.
But right. Yes. But yes, via message. Yes, absolutely. I totally remember what you sent me.
Like it was only a couple hours ago.
That's okay. My mind is.
But right. So Dave and I completely forgot that either last week or this really right in the middle of the 2 weeks. So we're going to go with last week. Was our 6th anniversary show. So
can you believe that 6th anniversary?
6 years. And honestly, I think the Barry Fitzgerald interview was a damn good 6th anniversary show.
I agree.
So hats off again to Mr. Barry Fitzgerald for coming on last week and joining us for the anniversary we completely forgot.
And for the full 2 hours.
Which
is a big deal. So thank you for that, Barry.
And
I hope you got a whole mason jar full of coins instead of screws and washers.
I remember.
And if you don't know what that means, shame on you for not listening to last week's show.
That's right. And you should.
Go back and listen to it because it's a good interview.
I agree. I thought about it throughout the week and like and how I really think that next time he comes on, we're going to have to set up like parameters that he needs to pause about every 5 sentences to let us get in a question.
Yeah.
Because otherwise
it wasn't as bad as some of our interviews have been. Okay. But yes, I agree with you. I think we just put it on a stopwatch timer. Like every 3 minutes, he has to actually breathe.
Well,
instead of just because he's like a walking encyclopedia again, and he just has so much that he wants to share, and it just keeps flowing out, and he's not paying attention. He's just like on a roll.
Right, and
it's like Chuck. But we love you, Chuck, but Jesus.
So by the time he's done with one answering one question, not only do we have 10 more, but we've already forgotten 6.
Yeah, that was the problem. I'm like, okay, I had to jump in there sometime, just like, okay, stop. We're not going anywhere until this question gets answered. So
exactly. Yeah. But love the guy to death and can't wait to have him back on. So happy 6th anniversary to you, Dave.
Thank you. Same to you.
And it's been a long and amazing road so far, and we have a lot more to go.
We do.
Shockingly, you think after 259 episodes, which is this one, 259, we would run out of things to talk about. But no, I have at least another 3 or 4 along with guests. I mean, it's
the paranormal, baby. Shit ain't never going to run out of stuff to talk about. We're in it to win it here. I mean, there's always going to be something happening. I'm waiting for like some big, like something big to like happen that we can really sink our teeth into instead of speculation. Like, show me like a real UFO. You know what I mean? Like a real, and I know I've seen them, and obviously things have been documented recently, but like an actual landing or something like that.
Well, I mean, that will be hard to miss.
Right.
So we'll bring it here. Not like you won't have already heard about it yourselves, but
but you're going to get our perspective on it.
That's right. That's the most important part.
That is the most important part right there. So.
In fact, I have a wonderful surprise for everybody later in the show as we talk about secret societies, which is our second hour topic. But first, I wanted to once again thank Subspace Radio for inviting us to be a part of their journey and of their platform. And I went on the website today to see when we were on,
Yeah.
only to find out that we're being played 4 out of the 7 days.
Nice.
At all different times.
Nice.
At all different times.
Well, it's okay.
Because I originally went there and I was like, oh, sweet. I'm like, we're Wednesdays from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm like, that's a great time.
That's a great time slot. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was looking around some more and I'm like, wait, we're also on
Sunday
Thursday
mornings from 6 to 8 a.m. So as you're way to church, you drive to church, you get to listen to us.
Well, actually, it is on Sundays, but I believe it's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Oh, that's right in the middle of a sermon. That's a bad time.
Well, I'll file a complaint.
Yeah, we're filing a complaint. Oh,
just kidding. We love Subspace Radio. So,
I knew that was going to happen.
What'd you do now?
Technical difficulty. Give me 1 second.
Well, as long as we can still hear you and see you, that whatever it is you're doing, obviously, it has to do with your headphones. So, anyways, like I said,
it's like a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, you and me are the two people the world has voted on that they least. You don't need to do that. You can still be heard.
As we fill in with awkward silence.
No, we don't, because I'm here.
There we go.
You do know that even though your headphones malfunctioned, you could still be heard.
Oh yeah, that's why I said awkward silence.
Well, no, I was still talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see
right.
your lips moving. I was looking at the screen.
Well,
no, I knew my battery was running low, and I knew it, and I'm like, it's got one more show in it. It made it 8 minutes.
I've been practicing my ventriloquism, so I was talking while not moving my lips.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Well, if I was over speaking you, I'm sorry.
No, I was just over whistling me, actually.
Oh. Yeah, there could have been that too.
Yeah, might be. So anyway,
right, back to where we were talking about interfering with church time.
Right. We don't like that. We want people to get clean and then come out and listen to our show
and get a little unclean
and then immediately go back to confession.
Yeah, exactly. And it'd be like,
forgive me, Father, for I've sinned.
Yeah, I turned on Mike and Dave
and I've been led by temptation.
Yeah, they took me down a path I did not want to go today. And now I'm in this freaking rabbit hole.
Okay, so I just want to say to any Subspace Radio listeners, thank you. Welcome to the Odyssey Files. We are available. If you want to go back and listen to our other 257 episodes, something like that, because obviously last week's is on there, but you can do so on all the other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So have at it. And we're going to get to stories here. Obviously, something that we do every week, unless we have a guest on for the full 2 hours, like last week. And if you have a paranormal question or story that you would like to send Dave and I to read and respond to live on the air, you can do so at OdysseyFilesRadio@gmail.com. With that said, we have another batch of great stories.
We do.
And one cat story.
I know. Can you believe it? The reason I put that in there is because it was our anniversary and I haven't given you one in a while. And so I'm like,
you give me one like every week.
No, I haven't given you one in a couple of weeks. It's been at least a couple of weeks. So.
That's because we haven't been on in a couple of weeks.
Well, that's why you haven't had one. I did give you a beauty though for the first one.
Yeah, I noticed how long it was.
Well, sometimes you can't, get a good question in with 4 sentences. Sometimes it takes a little longer. So,
all right. So, story number 1: series of unexplainable events that all happened right before a huge storm hit, which I might kind of prelude. I think is the word.
Prelude, yeah.
Prelude. That right before we came on the show, before I read this, I actually was watching a documentary on the world's worst storms, or like world's worst weather.
Wow.
So I am primed for this question.
There you go. Right. Everything happens for a reason.
It might be. I honestly was just in the mood to watch like tornadoes and stuff like that on video. And honestly, the documentary that I had some amazing flipping videos of all kinds of different weather. It was pretty sweet.
Getting your storm chaser fixed for the day.
Oh, I really want to try that, but I would die. Like literally. I would be the one idiot that would be like, no, we're fine here.
Yeah, turned right instead of turning left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I would try to get my twister on.
Yeah.
And just be
cow.
Like, cow. But it would be like,
it's time to turn back.
Yeah, I honestly still look up at the clouds and be like, those primatas must be spiking at 40,000. That's a really good thing. Anyway, okay, here's the story.
Okay.
So I'm pretty convinced my home is haunted anyways, since my partner and I often see shadows from the corner of our eyes, strange noises, voices, etc. But never this many things all at once. If spirits can manifest through electrical energy, do we assume they can use the energy of a storm to manifest too? So I'm sitting in my office at home in silence by myself. No one else is in the house, and no one is in the house next door to me either. I live in a quiet area, so nothing I heard would have come from outside, plus all windows and doors were shut. Out of nowhere, I hear footsteps going down the stairs, and then 3 thudding footsteps as though someone is walking across the hard floor downstairs. I ignore it at first. But then about a minute later, I hear another 3 footsteps and a loud bang from downstairs, so I decided to go and investigate. I walk through into the living room, find nothing unusual, turn around and go back into the hallway, and at the foot of the stairs, I see a kind of shining white silver mist that floats in one spot for maybe 3 seconds, then vanishes in front of me. It was about 1 foot in diameter and maybe 2 feet high. I headed back upstairs and sat down in my office again, and after another 2 to 3 minutes, the sudden rotten kind of smell just hits me momentarily. It was kind of like a blocked drain crossed with a burning rubber or something, not pleasant. But it lasted literally a second or two and was gone. I breathed it in twice and then just as quick as it appeared. And it was gone just as quick as it appeared. I checked around for the source of the smell, but there was absolutely no explanation. And like I mentioned, even the windows were shut. I try not to think too much of it. And shortly afterwards, my partner arrives home from work. Within 30 seconds of walking in, he's placed a thermos flask, which he's been using for around a year, on the kitchen side, and the thing literally explodes. Like the stop flies off across the room, and there's water everywhere. It didn't have anything in it besides plain tap water. I can't explain this. Also, not the first time something like this has happened. Last year, we had an ordinary pint glass with water in it just shatter out of nowhere, and I could not explain that either. 10 minutes later, a huge thunderstorm hit. It lasted for a good hour. We don't usually get storms like that. They're rare, and it made me wonder if the spirit or spirits here were able to cause all these things to happen by drawing energy from the storm. After it passed, this was about 5 days ago, I haven't seen or heard anything since besides the odd shadow like I usually see. Do you guys think it was from the storm? Yeah, I do. So obviously, it's been a long theory that obviously the environment and the air and everything is something that spirits use in order to manifest and interact with the physical plane. That's why when they suck in the heat from the air, you get a cold spot. And the prevailing theory is that lightning, thunderstorms, any sort of atmospheric turbulence electrifies the air and allows spirits to manifest and do things more intensely. Mm-hmm. I honestly, for myself, don't know whether that is true or not. I've investigated during rain and thunderstorms where there's lightning all around me and haven't really seen any uptick in activity, but that could simply be the spirits not caring that we were there.
Or just not an active location.
Well, I mean, it was Edinburgh Manor.
I've never. I mean, I've had experiences there. It's not my favorite place. I mean, no disrespect to Edinburgh Manor. I've never had like a aha moment there.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people have. I for whatever it is, maybe it's just my energy doesn't vibe well with that place. I guess it could be that. I don't know, but interesting. Yeah, you would think Edinburgh would come alive during a storm.
And get tons of evidence, but not the personal experience, not the physical manifestation that people are obviously claiming happens during lightning storms.
Yeah, right.
Do I definitely believe? I definitely believe that it is true that does happen. Mm-hmm. Just not during any investigation I've been a part of. So honestly, I don't know necessarily if anything odd was actually happening in your house that doesn't actually happen, but because of the storm, it intensified to such a level that you heard the footsteps, you heard the bang, the flash exploded. We often say that you can leave stuff out for spirits, mm-hmm. as offerings, as whatever. And let's just take almonds for example. You can put them out and say, these are for you. Yeah, the almonds are always going to be there. It's the energy that mm-hmm. is the essence that is drawn in. So who knows? Maybe a spirit wanted a drink of water and went for the flask and poof.
Yeah, the energy combination or whatever, the molecules didn't like the. Yeah. I could see that happening.
It's. I want to say that to use another movie reference, Doctor Strange. And when he was fighting that spirit and his physical body got, the cardio boost or the heart mm-hmm. attack or whatever and all of a sudden, his aura, blew up. Mm-hmm. Could that be something that happens in the spirit world? I think so. Whatever spirits in your house might make that journey every time or every day. You just don't hear it because there's no energy behind it in order to be able to manifest enough for you to perceive it. And this one was, especially when it's such a rare occurrence that you had such a high level of storm in that.
Right. I think that played into it a lot.
I do. You know me, Dave. I may not only be the paranormal cooler, but apparently I'm Mother Nature cooler as well.
Well, yeah. The storm sees you and it just parts into and then it comes back together once it gets past you and then destroys whatever's behind you.
Yeah. And you may think that he's exaggerating, but I've seen it happen twice.
I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah. No, he's not.
When we were roommates, I'd be like, dude, there's a storm coming. It's headed, like I'm looking at it. Bright, it's huge red, purple, heading right for the house. It's huge, man. It's taking out trees. Yeah, and then you get a spit of rain, and I'd walk outside, and I'd watch the black part like Moses at the Red Sea, and then all of a sudden it comes back around, and I look behind me, and it's all purple and black and lightning, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yep, true story.
It is
multiple stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I kind of forgot where I was going with that one. But anyway, yes, I definitely believe that it's true. I know you such an intensity jump would really, I think, upset people and confuse them a lot. But I don't think you're in any more danger or in any reason to be scared than you did before. I think that this was something that probably happens under your nose probably every day. And it just so happened that the environment at that time made it at such a level that you were able to perceive it all.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So before I really jump into my thing, I just want to say, when you were talking about leaving almonds out and like the energy behind it, and obviously the physical almonds in our reality are still going to be there. But it's the energy that put forth. And it made me think of two just great EVPs. One of them at Mounds Theater, when I'm sitting in the room and I got that bag of Skittles and I'm like, all right, I'm going to put out some Skittles and I'm going to leave them for you guys. Does anybody have a favorite color? And you can hear plain as day, like what it sounds to me to be, and this goes totally against my personal beliefs, like younger kids saying, "Oh, Skittles," you know, and then you can kind of hear like orange and this other, and I'm like, okay, you know, and obviously I didn't hear it at the time because I wasn't doing real time EVP work, which I should have been because that would have been cool as hell. But the second thing, and still obviously one of the greatest ones, and you caught it, was when I took you to the cemetery and we were there, and you had that bridge mix or whatever with you, and you're like, would you like me to leave you some bridge mix? I got some chocolates and da 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 da. And you got that great EVP that sounds like a young English kid, kind of like an English accent or a British accent or something, you know. And I'm just like, when we heard that, I was blown away. I was like, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it says, do you have any more candy?
Yeah, you have any more candy, sir? Or something like that. So great EVP. Okay, so anyway, I'm with you on this one. I think that what's happening at this house is happening.
Oh, Dave froze. Apparently nobody wanted to hear his answer.
Because they're completely calm with it, and they're not worried. There's no mention of demon in this story. That's one of the reasons that I chose this question. There's no mention of like anything negative. It's just hey, I'm pretty sure that stuff's happening all the time in my house, but there was this one time during this really weird storm right before the storm came. And I'm totally with you. I think that the electrical energy really ramped up this location. I think the things that they saw and witnessed and smelled and heard are probably always there. I'd be surprised if they weren't, to be honest. It's just that energy explosion that was happening there for 5-10 minutes before the storm got there or whatever allowed this individual to actually more witness it and perceive it happening. The only thing that kind of threw me a little bit, like I've seen the white silver mist, shiny mist floating on the ground. Josh and I when we were sitting in the principal's office at Farrar, had that exact same thing happen when I asked it to manifest, man. This off-white, pearl white metal flake, silver mist starts forming on the floor, starts swirling, gets about 2 feet high. And I reached for my camera. And as soon as I did that, it was the dumbest thing I could have done, but I wanted to try and document it. As soon as I did that, the thing disappeared. The whole entire room turned into a rainforest, and Josh went running out of there like he was going to puke his guts out. But I have seen that exact same thing. So I think that's a manifestation of something that was happening. Here's the question that I have, though, and I'm not going like demon with this at all, but I wonder what the blocked drain, rotten smell coupled with burning rubber was. It only lasted a second or two, so obviously it was something that was passing by. I don't know if it might have been something unpleasant. Not that it's there all the time, but maybe it showed up because it had the energy to show up. And so it was just checking things out. But the thing that kind of grabbed me here is I breathed it in twice and then it was gone just as quick as it appeared. There's a whole, and this is a whole nother show, and so I'm not going to go too deep on this, but there's a whole thing about like breathing in black smoke and breathing in negative energy and then having it affect you and being partially or potentially the reason for why people get oppressed and possessed. So we'll touch on that another time, but that's what popped into my head when I read that. Other than that, I totally agree with you. I think the thing exploding, I think that was just the molecules. And I think there was so much energy happening there. I think whatever the entity was that reached for the glass, their energy combined with the energy of the storm coming, combined with whatever energy was going on between the individuals there, just created this moment of this perfect storm of hey, we're not going to be compatible, and the water goes flying everywhere. Good question, though. I agree with Mike. I think that's cool as hell. It's hard to say. I wish that we had the ability to test a location like, okay, we're going to go here and this is what we document. And then the next great storm, we're going back to the same location, same exact equipment, put it all in the same exact spot. And we know what happened last time and we're going to see what the difference is. And that's the thing about the paranormal is that is not ever going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's not repeatable. It's just, that's the frustrating thing about the paranormal. We don't get to do things like the guys in the science labs with the coats and the pencil pocket protectors get to do. So,
well, that's not entirely accurate.
well, it is. It's not repeatable. Like in my example, we couldn't set up an exact thing and then be able to quantify the difference in activity if there was any, and say it was because of the storm.
Well, no, you would have to do it multiple times. But
or you would have to have an intelligent individual actually communicate with you intelligently and be like, hey, things are ramping up on my side because the storm's coming in. Now, if I ever get an EVP like that, I'm getting my own show. That's all I'm saying.
So did you just, if I win the lottery, I'm out of here, you losers?
Nope.
Because you just said if I get this EVP, I'm getting my own show.
I get my own show. I didn't say that nobody was invited. I just said I'm getting my own show. If I show up with evidence like that and I don't get my own show, then I know that television, paranormal television, is just bullshit.
Oh, well, yeah.
And I mean that in the nicest way possible, of course.
Well, we already know what it is, and I don't mean that in the nicest way possible.
I know you don't.
All right, next one.
Yeah, next one. Moving on. So life, death, other forms of existence. Question: who else is feeling lost, trying to find a deeper meaning for life, death, and everything in between? I am burning to connect to something deeper, to see proof that our existence is not just a physical one. Sometimes in vivid dreams, I have experienced other forms of reality, love, and friendship, and met a circle of friends whom I believe I have known from before. Sometimes on the thin border between wakefulness and dream, I have felt as if I am living parallel lives all at the same time. Am I starting to lose my grip, or is there more to all of this? I just really want to know. And damn it, join the club. You can hang out with me. Just so you know, pack a bag because we're going into Black Vandy, Utah after we get the answers. But yeah, man, there's a whole lot more to it than just the superficiality of the surface. Is there more to it? Yeah, there is more to it. Are we going to ever know what that is? I think when we pass away, we will. I think when we experience it, when our soul experiences it, when our energy, soul, whatever you want to refer, whatever your beliefs are, when we move forward out of this meat suit that we're walking around in planet Earth in, I think that we're going to know what's happening. We're going to be consciously aware of what's happening. And just like we're consciously aware of what happens now. So as we're moving forward, we're going to know some of these answers are going to be revealed to us. Regretfully, we're going to have to die before that happens. Now, that said, I imagine and I believe that there are ways that you can thin the veil and see things and experience things that would give you a glimpse into some of the questions that you're asking. The problem with that is who's pulling the veil back to allow you to see that? And is it real? Or are they showing you things that you want to see and not really the things that are there? That's the problem. That's the problem that I have. I never used to think like that. I used to just be like, oh God, it's going to be great. You know, I see this and that, and then I just take it as fact. And then the multiple decades that I've been doing this, I've just, and the older I get, I think it's a combination. I just look at it and I'm like, I just don't know that I can 100% trust who's pulling the curtain back. And after talking to Barry last week, it probably throws more doubt into it. So are we going to find some answers? Yeah. Are we going to find them while we're walking around right now? No. I don't think so anyway. That's my personal opinion.
Gotcha. Okay. So you guys are going to have to allow me to get philosophical here.
He's going deep.
I am going deep because the whole premise of the question is based on finding something deeper. And I completely get that. In fact, I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day where something major in his life had happened, and it was an amazing experience for him. But then it ended, and he became depressed and I don't want to say confused, but searching, because this event that happened for him was so uh, life altering for him. And he felt more himself than he'd ever had in his entire life, and found a place where he felt that he belonged, which is something that he'd been searching for pretty much his entire life. And and like I said, it was all of a sudden it was done, and he didn't know where to go from there. And I get that, because every single person that I know, and that probably just every single person, period, needs to have a purpose, needs to have a reason, a goal, something to shoot for. Whether it's obtainable or not is irrelevant. They have to feel that there's a higher purpose to their life than getting up and going to work every day, then coming home and watching the news and eating dinner and going to bed. Every day, every day, every day. Everybody
Right.
needs a purpose and a deeper meaning for their life. And just because one thing ends doesn't mean that you can't then choose another. You don't suddenly lose everything that you have gained from previous experiences just because they're over. You take those with you into your next your next purpose. It's why I feel so many people cling to faith and religion and God, because it gives them that purpose that will never end. They can take that their entire life to shoot for this one goal of going to heaven. And I get that. I absolutely get it. And that's why I don't say anything about organized religion. It's not for me, but if it's for somebody else and that gives them that comfort, have at it. While you were talking, Dave, I was actually thinking about an episode of House that I see. It's one of my favorite episodes. I've watched it probably more than any other one. It's called One Day, One Room, I believe, and the dialogue in it is what I love, because they talk about these deeper meanings. And I remember I guess you could call her the victim, talking about how she could never give up like faith or whatever, because then nothing that we do here has any meaning. There's no ultimate consequence to anything that we do if there is no heaven and hell. And I get that. So, I mean, somebody who's searching for, this deeper meaning for life, death, and everything in between, it's all going to come from you. It's all what you take from the things that life gives you and puts them to what they mean for you. What is a deeper meaning of life, death, and everything in between for me is not going to be the same for Dave. It's not going to be the same for anybody else. And so, I mean, with that said, I'll move actually into the second part, which is, you've had friendships and met the circle of friends, and, you believe that you are living parallel lives. Our friend Cena, I think, is probably the main proponent of this that I know of, and that is our entire lives are being lived simultaneously.
Right.
Our past, our present, our future, all simultaneously. So are you in your dreams reaching out to those different parts? Is the circle of friends, the love and everything that you are searching for and experience, in your life, that you don't know these people, or you feel like you've known them, are they in your future? Or were they in a past life?
Or are they happening right now in a parallel universe?
Exactly.
Right.
I have been told by Cena that, I would go to her with, whatever issue I may have, or looking for some sort of insight or guidance that I can't figure out myself. And she'll say stuff like, this is already happening in multiple other universes. And, she says it to give me hope, but it just irritates me because it's not happening here. But
well, in version 53 of yourself, Mike, you are killing it.
I know.
But
and
you're
I'm
in
like,
version 108 here, and it's not so good.
Yeah.
Seriously, thanks, man. Thanks a lot. At least it's nice to know I'm killing it in some other parallel reality.
Yeah, this is one of those everything everywhere all at once. That movie.
God damn! I just watched that movie, and
I just feel that. So, sometimes like I'm the lowest form of myself. and another me is going to suddenly appear and be like, "It's you, buddy.
Yeah,
you're the lowest of the low. We need you.
We need you.
Nobody worse."
That's right, because you couldn't get any lower. You're the one who's going to save everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
that movie, the first hour, the first time I watched it, I had to stop. I was like, holy shit, I have no idea where this movie's going, but it's making my head hurt. I'm like, I got to take a break. So I actually turned it off an hour in, and then I went back and rewatched the whole thing about a week later, and I was like, okay. All right.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
It's
one of the weirder movies I've ever seen.
It's a mind beep.
It is. Yeah.
Anyway, so that is my answer to everything. I think that I don't think the dreams are meant to give you that deeper meaning. I think they're just meant to show you what you can and could have. But again, it's up to you.
Yeah. And what's a deeper meaning anyway? Right? I mean, what if you're already at your deepest moment?
Oh, I hope not.
I hope not too, but I'm saying, how deep is the pool, right? Everything has a bottom. Well, except for space. Space doesn't have a bottom.
Space doesn't have sides.
That's true. It doesn't have anything. So it just kind of randomly goes on wherever it feels like it. So, but I'm thinking I'm visualizing a pool for some reason, right? Like a swimming pool. So it has a depth to it, right? 12 feet, 14 feet, 6 feet, whatever. What if you're, for some people, not for everybody, obviously, but for some people, what if you're already at that 6 foot depth? Maybe you're just dissatisfied with what's there. I think that's when you have the ability to go and change things, make a few small differences in your life, see what happens. And if it gets worse, go back to where you were, man. It's easy to do. And if it gets better, then capitalize on it and continue to do other small changes and move forward. And maybe you'll find, maybe you can create your own future. I don't think you can. I think it's all predisposed. But for some people, they don't have to have that outlook, obviously.
Yeah. I spent years joking, anytime I'd say something profound, which was, every day. But and somebody would comment like, well, that's deep, Mike. And I'm like, yes, I'm a virtual kiddie pool of deep thought.
Yes,
so
you are.
There's my depth right there.
There's your depth right there, baby. 18 inches.
Although that's not why they call me Mr. 18 inches, though.
No, I left that door open.
Oh.
If you didn't walk through that door, I was clicking off, man.
Oh, and on to the next.
And we're on to the next. We're on to the cats.
All right. Number 3, my ghost cat experience. This is going to be good, people. One of the houses I lived in as a child was owned by an older couple that were hoarders with a bunch of cats. Shocker. From my understanding, they were evicted, and when people came to clean the house, there was trash piled 4 feet high in some areas, and while they were cleaning, a lot of dead cats were found. After my family moved out, the next owner even found cat skeletons under the house. At the time I lived there, we had one pet cat who was a big fluffy gray and white Maine Coon. I always thought I would see cats out of the corner of my eye or hear meows that didn't quite sound like my cat, but it was never enough that I couldn't convince myself that my brain was playing tricks on me. One day I'm sitting in our office at the computer. We had an L-shaped desk with a drawer on the right side. I was just relaxing when out of the corner of my eye, I saw what I think is my cat walking under the desk by my feet. I say hi to my cat and then do the biggest double take of my life because it is not my cat. This cat is skinny, short-haired, white, and transparent. I could see the black background of the desk, but through it, the cat looked up at me when I fully looked at it, meows, and then walked through the drawer on the right side of the desk. Like fully just walked through the wooden drawer like a ghost on TV phasing through a wall. I'm pretty sure I just sat there dumbfounded for a minute before going and finding my actual cat who was not in the room. I never saw that ghost cat again, but I did always feel like there were many around while I lived in that house. Thoughts? First, I think what you stumbled onto was not a hoarder house with a bunch of cats. I think you were at the cat version of the Hunger Games. Now, I know what you're thinking, Mike. That doesn't make any sense. But does it? Doesn't it?
Explains the dead cats and the skeletons under the house.
Exactly. I think the cats were killing themselves. Well,
and
not suicide.
And keeping the old couple as food.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I see it.
Probably munching off their souls,
mm-hmm.
which is why they were hoarders, because they didn't have any energy to move around. It was just a whole bunch of friskies and cat food things.
I'm feeling it.
As you should. As to the ghost cat, I mean, obviously, if there's a lot of cats who have died, then they hoarded dead cats too, which is both gross and amazing at the same time.
God, that smell must have been just...
Well, I mean, minus the garbage that was 4 feet high. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine dead, decaying, rotting cat, though. Smells really good in the house.
Well, anyway.
Multiple.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at all that you feel the presence of cats in that house. I would be shocked if you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the way they died. I mean, I'm sure that they didn't die of old age. I will tell you that. But I'm not. The only thing that gets me from saying that this isn't residual is the fact that you said the cat looked at you.
Mm-hmm.
Was it looking in your general direction, or was it looking at you? That's my question. Because if it's just walking through a drawer or the desk, and that's it, then it either one knows that it could do that, or it doesn't see the desk there.
Well, it says the cat looks up at me when I fully looked at it, and meows, and then walks through the drawer.
Well,
so I would say the cat looked at him. If it, like, you know, when a cat looks at, or a dog, same thing, right? You know when your pet's looking at you.
Yes, I know that it looks at me because then the cat hightails it out of there.
Right.
I see it in the window of the homes I deliver to all the time. I just glare at him. I say, "I'm on to you," and it turns around and hightails it away.
It's because they're going to get back up.
Whatever. It's scared. It knows. One glare for me, and out the door it goes. So anyway, that's one of the staples of residual energy is that it walks through walls where there used to be doors. It does things that obviously an intelligent cat or an intelligent person, whatever, wouldn't. If that cat saw the drawer there, it either one knew it could walk through it, or it's not intelligent enough, I guess, in quotations, to understand that the desk is there and is just walking through it to walk. So I mean that's it's tough because it said it looked at him, but did it? I don't know. So
it's a coin flip, because here's my big question from this. Now, first of all, I have had experiences with cat ghosts, and same thing with dogs. So say what you want. I know it's real. We had our cat Shadow, after he got run over, and I've told that story many times. He got hit on the road, but the car that hit him, ran right, not to be graphic here, but ran right over his head. So he died instantaneously. So in a situation like that, he wasn't suffering in any way, shape, or form. It was just boom, boom, like a boom, boom play like that. He didn't know he was gone. And for the next 3-4 days, I would see him around the house. My daughters were still talking to him. He was still climbing into bed with them at night. I could hear him talking. And I'm like, I'd go in there and I'd smile and I'd be like, everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. Shadow's back. Okay. It's cool. So anyway, so I know that it happens, whether he was there for a little while because he didn't know he had passed. I'm sure in that situation, that's what it was. But this could be a coin flip, because as much as my gut tells me that this cat was intelligently there and looked at this kid and then kind of meowed to say hello and then just walked. I think where it was walking in its realm, there was no desk there, obviously. So it could walk wherever the hell it wants to walk. But at the same time, going with the residual thing makes more sense. I hate saying that because then I'm agreeing with you. Makes more sense because he didn't say anything about his current cat getting aggressive in the house or having fits that all these other cats were in the house. And if you know what a Maine Coon is, they're huge cats. And while they're really nice to adults, they can be really temperamental with other cats. That's why they're kind of a single cat in the house type of thing. So if this place was haunted with multiple ghost cats, and we already know, or at least we assume, and I believe, that pets have more of an ability to experience the paranormal than we do, that they're more in tune with it, that I would think that this cat, this Maine Coon, who was their pet cat, would be having a hissy fit with all of the other ghost cats around. They don't say anything about that. They don't say yeah, my Maine Coon has been having all these weird, running around, chasing things into walls and, hissing and running, chasing things upstairs that I can't see. There's nothing like that here. It's just the simple thing of, I saw this cat, what the hell's going on? So I'm still going to say I'm 51-49 here. I'm 51% that it's intelligent, 49% that it's residual. Maybe his Maine Coon just doesn't give a shit. I don't know. Anyway.
What? A cat not caring about anything other than itself?
I know. It's difficult. I know. Number 4, sleep paralysis. Bad omen. I was just doing some reading about sleep paralysis, and it had me reflecting on my own experiences. I've experienced sleep paralysis a handful of times in my life. However, it's been quite a while since the last one. While I was reflecting on this, I recognized that almost every experience I had was within a year. Beyond that, at least 2 to 3 experiences happened in the month immediately before my mom passed away very suddenly. I recall my first experience having a horrible presence in the room that I couldn't see, but I inherently knew it to be a nurse. My mom did not pass in a hospital, but it is still strange. The second experience was a more Hatman-like presence. Each experience since she's passed has been more minor, just kind of stuck, but no evil presences. It's been at least 4 or 5 years since my last experience. Any thoughts or similar experiences? Okay, so first of all, I don't usually do this, but I got to critique this a little bit. So why would you think that a nurse being in your room was a horrible presence? I don't understand that. You don't see what's there, but you inherently knew it to be a nurse. Well, nurses are not evil. I don't be the one to point that out. Nurses take an oath to, just like doctors do, save lives and to make patients more comfortable while they're in pain and whatever's happening to them that would cause a nurse to be there. Nurses have taken an oath that they're there to make sure that you are taken care of, that you get the best care possible and that you heal and move forward. So I'm lost as to why there would be a horrible presence in the room and it would be a nurse. So that right there has me confused. Secondly, I don't know that the time frame here lines up really well. So while I'm reflecting, I recognize that almost every experience I had was within a year. Okay, so a handful of sleep experiences had them within a year. Beyond that, at least 2 to 3 experiences happened in the month immediately before my mom passed away very suddenly. So that's obviously 2 or 3 experiences that didn't happen within a year. And then has a Hat Man-like presence experience. I would think if you were going to be scared of something, you'd be much more scared of the Hat Man being in your room while you're in sleep paralysis than you would be of a nurse. And then ever since she's passed away, things have been more minor. So I'm going to say here that this is a psychological thing. I don't think it's paranormal at all. I think that whoever this individual is did not have a good relationship with their mom. That's what I'm getting here. And that the reason I'm going that direction is because now that mom has passed, you don't have to worry about having any more combative type of relationship situations with her because it's not going to happen anymore. And now that that is out of your life, these have become more minor and that you're just stuck with no evil presences. And now you haven't had one for 4 or 5 years, which means that you probably will never have one again. Sleep paralysis is a really interesting thing. It is a documented medical situation. I personally believe that more sleep paralysis is paranormal than medical, but obviously that's my personal opinion. And I was already like roasted on that because I was leaning too far to the paranormal side. But I think in this situation, I think that there was something that was turmoil between the relationship with this individual and the relationship with the mother. And now that mom's gone, they don't have that turmoil anymore. It's worked its way out, so to speak. And I don't think there's going to be any more sleep paralysis. So no, I don't think it's paranormal at all. Similar experiences? Yeah, I think everybody's probably had sleep paralysis moments. I know I've had a handful. But it's never been an evil. Like I've never had an evil sleep paralysis moment where something comes in and holds me down and then like hovers above me. I've had shit hover above me. I wasn't held down. I was able to get up and swing at it and tell it what I thought of it. But I have not been held down and had a negative experience. And the Hat Man's never come to visit. So whatever, take that for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So obviously, I lead way to the
right. You're way over here, and I'm way over here.
Right.
On sleep paralysis.
I believe that at least 80 to 90% of sleep paralysis is medically induced. Yeah. Just as a small recap, because we've done a show on sleep paralysis, mm-hmm. So we Dave mentioned it as a medical condition, and it is. Basically, when you go to sleep and you enter REM sleep, your body paralyzes you so you don't act out your dreams, mm-hmm. In physically speaking. And sometimes people wake up before their body does, mm-hmm. and your brain has not released you, which is why when you wake up, you're still paralyzed for 30 seconds, a minute, however long your brain takes to catch up with you or your body. I don't know, however you want to phrase it. But, and in that time, people do have, they call it the old hag syndrome, mm-hmm. where, they feel there's a negative old hag, witch, whatever you want to call it, or a demon, like the Hat Man. I mean, you just seem to be having classic medically induced sleep paralysis. I don't know whether you had problems with your mom or not. As I was reading this, I simply was like, what is going on in your life at that time? Are you stressed out? Are you having issues with your mother? And after she was gone, they would be right that now all of a sudden that stress is gone. Those right. problems are gone. And little by little, your mentality, whatever, is adjusting to that.
Yeah,
And
you've
so,
worked it out, so to speak.
exactly. It's like getting rid of residual energy.
Right.
You cleanse and cleanse and cleanse, and before long, it's gone,
Right.
and you don't experience even residual energy anymore. So I agree wholeheartedly with Dave. Not that I would have been any different, because I believe it's medically induced. But I think that you're going to be just fine, and that you don't need to look into it anymore or really contemplate the deepness of it, other than you did it to yourself. No big deal. Happens to
I think it
millions
was
of
just a
people.
manifestation of what was happening in their lives at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. All right. So we are going to go to intermission.
Intermission.
Well, a full 2 minutes. So those listening on Subspace Radio, have fun with all the news and top of the hour. While those watching live will get an array of our promos, and those listening on podcast will either fast forward or listen. Either way, we'll be back on the other side with more Odyssey Files goodness. Stay tuned.
This is Susan Slaughter from Paranormal Caught on Camera, introducing you to the most epic show ever, The Odyssey Files with David Soyering and Michael O'Neill. You're welcome. Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, this is Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters, and if you ever have time that you never want to get back, spend it listening to Mike and Dave on the Odyssey Files.
This is Heather Taddy of Paranormal State and Alien Highway. I can't say that the Odyssey Files are out of this world, but Mike and Dave are quite abductable.
Hey, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters, and you're listening to Dave and Mike on the Odyssey Files. It's not the best show you're ever going to listen to, but it's also probably not the worst.
This is Michelle Belanger, author of The Dictionary of Demons. What is faster than a speeding shadow person and more fun than an anal probe? It's Mike and Dave of the Odyssey Files. Hold on to your hats and buns.
This is Elizabeth Saint. You know, in my journeys I've confronted an over 1,000-year-old demon from the depths of Shepherdstown. But then, you know what happened? I came across Mike and Dave. And hot damn, nothing could have prepared me for the Odyssey Files. My second favorite radio show. I love you guys.
And we are back.
Perfect timing.
I was going to say, way to be ready there. Sorry.
I was. 2 minutes is not that long, you know. I got to get up, hobble my ass across the house, refill my water, grab a handful of smokehouse almonds, eat those without eating them on air, and then get my way back and sit down.
You could
It's
just
2 minutes.
could just turn off your microphone, then you could eat all you want. I do it. Anyways,
I could.
all right. So, more stories, or
you know, I like. I really like number 7 because that's a really good question,
okay,
and I really like number 5. So let's skip number 6. You know, I think number 6 is a good question too, but let's skip number 6. You do the next one, and I'll wrap it up at number 7.
Sure. All right.
And because I really think these are 2 really good questions that we like are important things to talk about.
Yep. All right. Number 5. Do you believe that some locations are more susceptible to paranormal activity than others? So here's what they write. Obviously, the low-hanging fruit are places like cemeteries, abandoned hospitals, historic buildings, etc. But are there other places that you think are more susceptible to activity? If so, why do you think those places are more prone to paranormal activity? So I think that there's a there's a misunderstanding that I read. Cemeteries, I agree with, but abandoned hospitals, I think is wrong. Hospitals, they don't have to be abandoned to have paranormal activity. Honestly, are some locations more susceptible to paranormal activities than others? Yeah, absolutely. Anywhere that deals with death is more susceptible to paranormal activity. You would have a hard time. It could happen. But if like land, building, whatever, nothing bad had ever happened there to like the point of death, you're probably not going to find paranormal activity there unless it's in visitation, like you brought it in or something along those lines. So, and it does not matter because you had a lot of like cemeteries, which can be very old. You had historical locations, which obviously are very old. Abandoned hospitals are typically abandoned because they're old.
Mm-hmm.
Age has nothing to do with nothing. Mm-hmm. You can have a home built 2 years ago and have paranormal activity in it. So I just think that the mindset of the person that wrote this is a little skewed and is a little off. But are some locations more susceptible? Yeah, absolutely. But it all depends on what has happened there. I mean, any hospital is going to have activity because there's a lot of death there. In fact, our next story deals a lot with that.
Yeah, and a lot of pain.
And a lot of pain. It
doesn't always have to be death because there's a lot of things in hospitals. Trust me, I have seen them that come to feed on the pain.
But you're right. Let me rephrase. Tragedy.
Right. It's the sadness. It's the crying. It's the pain that the individual's in. It's the deep emotional grieving that the individuals that are there visiting are bringing. I think that's a catalyst. I mean, Jesus Christ, some of the shit I saw, well, what I've shared with you, regretfully I've spent too much goddamn time in the hospital over the last 4 years, but I've shared with you the things that happened to me and the things that I saw and things that happened and whatever. It's, man, you could, if you could, and I'll just throw this out there quick and then I'll shut up because I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you could somehow, and you can't do this obviously because it just wouldn't work because the doctors and people that are dying and people that are injured, people need help. But if you could be the fly on the wall type of thing and be in a hospital and document it and not pay attention to what's happening with the doctors and the patients, but pay attention to everything else around it, you'd be blown away. I 100%. I'll stand behind that 100%. And I know 100% the damn thing. But I would 100% that there would be a lot of shit happening that you would witness that you'd be like, holy crap, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Including this little 2.5, 3 foot tall Tasmanian devil black ball of energy.
Sure.
He's at Regions.
He's at Regions.
He is at Regions.
If you want to visit him, get
hurt
admitted to Regions. But yeah, no, I don't really have much more to say on that. That's pretty much my entire answer. Any tragedy or trauma that leaves any sort of imprint on that location or land is susceptible to paranormal activity. And obviously they're far more susceptible there than in places where nothing bad or traumatic has ever happened.
Yeah, I agree with you. 100% on the abandoned hospitals thing. I think abandoned hospitals are probably less paranormal activity than legitimate operating hospitals, to be honest with you. I think that a hospital that's functional today is going to have a whole ton of more paranormal stuff happening than an abandoned old hospital would.
Because it's fresh.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's happening right now. And the things that are coming to feed on it are there to feed on it. And they don't really give a shit that you see them or experience them or not because you can't do anything about it anyway. Cemeteries, 100%. I have taken people to cemeteries and they have had experiences and they just look at me like, what the hell did we just experience? And Mike included. And I've had that argument. People tell me, and I've had arguments with people And they're like, well, why would there be anything at a cemetery? Because it's just dead bodies, and the dead bodies, the energies, you already said the energy left. So if your soul left, what the hell would they be at the cemetery for? Yeah, I know. We've had that discussion already. So I don't care. Don't believe me. Don't go to cemeteries. That's perfect, because then it leaves more cemeteries for me that aren't disturbed. Cemeteries are active. I don't necessarily worry about why they're active. I don't go there and grill the entities that are there as to why they're there. But I go there and experience them there, and had some absolutely phenomenal interactions at cemeteries. Absolutely phenomenal. Historic buildings, of course, I think that's just to do with age. I think one of the things that should have been thrown on here, if you really want to look at it, would be like battlefields. I think like Gettysburg and any of the other big battlefields, I think they're haunted as hell. If you go there, I think those guys I think it's just the amount of blood that was spilled and the way they used to fight, and they used to show up, and okay, let's just walk in a single file right up this hill. Don't worry about the cannonballs that are whizzing past us. No. Let's stay low and go in groups of 12 to 15, and then let's be a little bit more intelligent about this. But I think battlefields for sure are huge places for paranormal activity. And I don't think paranormal activity is only centered around pain and death and misery. I think paranormal activity happens because somebody had a fantastic memory, pleasant, happy memory, maybe the place of their wedding, maybe the place where they got engaged, maybe the birth of their child, maybe an incredible vacation that was like for an anniversary where they had this epiphany of why they're in love with the other individual. Anything like that leaves this humongous energy stain creates an area that is prone to paranormal activity. And so it doesn't always have to be negative. And I think that regretfully people see that negativity because that's all that's portrayed on TV. It's always got to be something negative. Nobody ever goes to say hi to grandma, because she's there visiting, because she enjoyed her life in her home where she grew up in. It's always, oh, it's a demon. Oh, I can smell rotten flesh and that bullshit. Anyway, we won't elaborate on that. Otherwise, we won't get to our topic today. Okay, as a nurse, so this is a great segue. I love segues. As a nurse, how can I protect myself spiritually in a hospital setting? Some people who believe in spirits in the afterlife believe that when doors to the afterlife are opened, such as when someone dies and carries over, other things can come through, revolving door theory. Or that spirits may just linger instead of crossing over, obviously scared of what's on the other side. Paranormal activity seems to be prevalent in places where death is frequent, especially hospitals. For those who are believers, how would you protect yourself spiritually while working in this environment? Well, first thing I would do, and I've said this for the past 40 years, find something to ground yourself in. It can be God, it can be religion, it could be any religion you believe that you choose to believe in. It could be not something that's not religion. You could be agnostic. Pick up a rock if you thoroughly believe in that rock. And I know that sounds stupid, but if you believe that rock is something important to you and that it's your grounding point, then carry that rock with you and have faith in that rock, and that rock will be your grounding moment. Use that. Have yourself grounded. Don't leave yourself open. Never walk into an environment where death is frequent and leave yourself open, just bumbling around, especially if you're a worker at a hospital like that. Like, obviously, she's a nurse. She's there in that environment all the time. People are injured. People are passing away. People are grieving. Certainly have to have yourself grounded. If you believe in God, if you believe in religion, then I think having a strong faith in your religion also will carry you through and keep you safe from any potential harm. And I've said this many times, and we've had this conversation on the show many times. Negative entities are constantly searching every single second of every single day for victims. But like anything else in life, a negative entity is going, if there was a group of 10 people in a room and 9 of them were grounded and believe in something strong, and they carry that energy and that white light with them, and the other person couldn't give a shit about anything or anybody, that negative entity is not going to fight its way through to get to those 9 and have to battle and butt heads to get through that white light. It's going to take the easy one. And so the person who's standing there on the end that doesn't care about anything, who doesn't believe in anything, is going to be the next victim of that negative entity. It's kind of a superficial way of stating it, but we don't have time to get into the nuts and bolts of that thought process on this show at this moment. We can certainly readdress it at a later show, but I think that's what happens. I think negative entities go after the easiest victim. It's like the path of least resistance for water. Water can flow wherever it wants to because it's liquid, but it doesn't choose to flow uphill, or it doesn't choose to flow sideways. It chooses to flow downhill because it's the easiest path for it to take. Same thing with a negative entity. And yes, I know water doesn't flow uphill, but it does. Just like rivers run north, right? Well, not all rivers run south. Rivers run north. Rivers also run. Water flows upstream. People don't believe that. Look it up. I mean, it's the truth.
It happens, yeah. So, well, I think people just have the whole all rivers run south because, to them,
I think that's what we're just taught in grade school.
Yeah, it's just downhill.
Right. It all runs to the ocean.
Yeah. So I disagree with you a little bit on here and there. Cool. Bring it on, bitch.
That's what makes the show good, man. If we're just reiterating each other's thoughts, there's not a whole lot of show content there.
Just once I'm going to say that. I just want you to be like, all right, well, come at me, bro.
When I have my foot in the sand, if that moment happens, I will say that. But on this topic, I didn't draw any line in the sand on this topic.
I know. All right. So I get the whole revolving door thing. But I don't see it happening on like a something that's not intentionally on a door that's not intentionally opened. Like I don't think there's ever been a claim where it was like this person died. It was beautiful. I saw like the soul rise up from the body, and then all of a sudden this black mist came back in. Like there doesn't ever seem to be any story like that. So I think if it's a natural death, where the soul leaves the body and transcends to wherever it is going to go, I don't think that opens a two-way door. I think it's a misconception that all spirits traveling out open the door for something to come in. I don't believe that to be the case. Obviously it can. It's like mirrors. Is every mirror a portal? No. Just how I don't think that every doorway that opens is two ways. I think somebody has. I think when it comes to that, it's a one-way door. How obviously I agree with you. Ground yourself in something. Earth, faith, whatever. Mm-hmm. But you might also use crystals. If you don't want to wear a cross, or maybe you can't wear. I don't know if you can wear jewelry while you're on duty anyway.
That's a good question.
So I mean, if crystals, in a pouch in your pocket, something like that, tourmaline, quartz, whatever, very good at protection. Also, just like any investigation, when you're done with your shift and you're about to leave, say, hey, if anything is here, you stay here. You're not allowed to follow me home. Because I honestly don't think nurses and doctors so much fall prey to negative energies, because I don't think negative energies are there for them. They're there for the souls who are leaving. They're there for the dying, and not for the people who are still alive. But there's tons and tons of claims of hospice nurses and stuff like that having experiences of clients who have just died, people that they attached them, that they got attached to, that they started to care for, that treated, an old man really, really nice.
Right.
And when that person died, they followed this nurse home because, for whatever reason, they really liked them. They wanted to say thank you. Doesn't matter. But it happens. I don't think you necessarily need to protect yourself as much as just lay the boundaries. And you maybe do it at the start of your shift and do it at the end of your shift. And you'll take that intent with you through the entire time. So yeah, that's my answer.
It was a beauty.
Thank you. I'm really on a roll tonight. Even got in a sex joke.
And a good cat story.
Although I did get to compare it to the Hunger Games. So
right.
All right.
Made it a good cat story.
Maybe I should have said Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Cats. Oh, why hasn't that book been written?
Oh, yeah. Because it just doesn't need to be.
Yes.
Well, there you go. There's your next goal.
That's my purpose, right?
It's your purpose. Your epiphany just happened.
The Lord of the Cats. It's coming.
Lord of the Cats.
Kind of like my Dr. Seuss poem that I never wrote.
So, all right. So I got to throw this in there. So okay. I just found, this is totally off. We're totally going out left field here. So I'm watching a show last night and they're talking about how copyrights are coming up and expiring.
Yes.
Okay. So have you heard that too? So this is kind of in the news right now.
Oh God. Yeah. There's the, are you going to talk about the Winnie the Pooh movie?
Yeah, I am. So Christopher Robin is getting made into a 8 or 10 part thing on Netflix or something like that, where he is not the innocent kid with Pooh and Piglet that we all grew up with. He is this drug-fueled lowlife living in New York City that has this group of whacked out, drug crazed animals that happens to be Eeyore and Piglet and Pooh Bear that he goes to escape to be with them. Now, obviously, we live in a country of freedom of speech, but there does need to be some line somewhere. Now, I thought that was bad. Okay, I thought that was bad. Then the thing I'm watching, the guy continues and says, and did you hear that they made a movie called Blood and Honey?
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Which is Winnie the Pooh and Piglet going on a murder spree.
Yes.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So anyway.
Which is on Netflix now.
I had to throw my 2 cents in on that.
Yeah. Actually,
I have not watched it. I don't know if that I will. Did you see it? Did you watch it?
No, it is on Netflix. I saw it either last night or today that it was on there, but I haven't watched it. Yeah, Disney's losing some of the copyrights too. They're
losing the original Steamboat Mickey.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
I think the end of this year, I think. Mm-hmm. I think it's the end of this calendar year. It's over.
Yeah.
So that's interesting how you can. I didn't know that. That's something that I learned. That's something new to me. I did not know that when you put a copyright on something that it has an expiration date. I always just kind of assumed you created it, you copyrighted it, you own it. That you own the intellectual rights to it. So I wonder, it's going to be interesting to see the one with Steamboat Mickey because Walt Disney doesn't give shit up very easily. So I don't know how they're going to figure something out, but my gut is telling me that Walt Disney's going to find a way to kind of keep that from turning into Steamboat Mickey slaughters the sorority house.
That would be amazing. All right. So, but yes.
Boy. Girls in panties. I guess, I'm going off in deep end here, but I don't know. Part of me wants to see that movie made.
All right.
On that note, let's talk about secret societies.
maybe Steamboat Mickey will go after secret societies.
Maybe he'll create one. He'll go dark once he's released from Disney.
Come on, Steamboat Mickey versus Skull and Bones. Come on.
Exactly.
All right. So, as we have talked about, secret societies, and there are a lot of secret societies that people have heard of. Obviously, Skull and Bones, out of Yale, the Freemasons. Even though, honestly, there's no secret to that anymore, really. I mean, I understand that they started like that.
They were a secret society, though. Yeah.
But, I mean, now you can, they'll freely admit it. Oh, I'm a member of the secret, and they'll tell you everything that you need to know. We even have...
I don't know about that.
Well, maybe not everything you need to know.
Yeah, I was going to say. The thing I found interesting about that was who's the guy that we know that...
James,
yeah. That's what I thought his name was. I just didn't want to say the wrong name. So the thing I found interesting when we had James on and when we were talking to him, actually, when we did the investigation at the Scottish Rites Temple?
Scotch Rite Temple.
Yeah. Scotch Rite Temple. The thing I found interesting was you can go all the way through and become like the top
No, and he froze again. He'll be back. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll be doing the show by myself from now on.
It bounced out.
Yeah, you froze for a minute there. You're back.
Yeah. Okay. So I found it interesting that you can burn right through there that fast. Like I thought it would take decades to become like a 39th Mason. And he's like, no, you just study and you go through the rituals and, I did it in a year. And I'm like, huh.
Yeah, it just depends on your dedication and ambition.
Yeah. I found that interesting, though. I thought it would be more of a journey than a mad rush.
No, mad rush.
Mad rush.
So, obviously, the Illuminati is the big one. What surprised me, and I didn't do any research on them because F them, the Ku Klux Klan is considered a secret society, which I don't believe should have that classification. But
no, like we talked about that right before the show. They're an organization. I would not put them into secret society status.
Right. But we even though I did read up on the Skull and Bones. I did read up on the Illuminati, and they do have an amazing history to them. We wanted to kind of focus on secret societies you may or may not have heard of, like the smaller ones. And as I'm doing all of this research and reading up on these obscure and maybe lesser known secret societies through history, I couldn't help but laugh at a ton of them, at the reason they were formed, at the fact that these secret societies have official websites. There's a couple of secret societies who I think is could be considered the first insurance agency. So we'll get to that because that's funny. And the reason for some of these secret societies, like what they're made for. Like I'll start with this one. The International Order of St. Hubertus, if I pronounced that right. Mm-hmm. Apparently, Supreme Court Justice Anthony Scalia was a part of this. Secret society, and it's a secret society for elite hunters. And apparently, in 1695, Count Anton von Sporok wanted to get the greatest noble hunters of the 17th century in Bohemia, Austria, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire together. And that's according to their official website. Because all secret societies have websites.
They can be Googled and easily found, but they're secrets.
Right. So Hitler actually dissolved it officially because they wouldn't allow Nazis to be a part of this order of St. Hubris.
Well, that was a good move on their part.
Yes, but apparently it emerged after World War II. Shocker. And then in the 1960s, an American chapter was formed where I guess a young Anthony Scalia joined the Elite Hunters Secret Society. So that's my first one.
I'm bouncing in and out, just so you know. I don't know why I'm having issues with my internet, but I am.
I know.
So, okay. So these guys have been around, like, as far as I know, from like the time of the Illuminati and the time of the Templar Knights and stuff, would be the Rosicrucians. And a lot of people are afraid of the Rosicrucians. And like, if you hear, like, I still, obviously, I haven't like become an expert at all on Rosicrucians and like what their beliefs are and stuff like that. But skimming through, because we're doing the shotgun approach tonight, we decided we're not going to like just focus on one or two and go in depth. Interestingly, I see the Rosicrucians that are like when somebody wants to say something like, "Oh, those guys," you know, and like point a finger at somebody and say like they're the reason that stuff's like horrible, like that stuff's all messed up. It seems to me that they're not pointing the finger at the Templar Knights and they're not pointing the finger at the Freemasons. They're pointing the finger at the Rosicrucians, and it happens a lot. So here's the basically the gist of the Rosicrucians, and this is definitely the Reader's Digest version of it. They are seekers of esoteric knowledge. Well-known members: Isaac Newton, Thomas Paine, Benjamin Franklin, Napoleon Bonaparte, and, as we were just talking about, Walt Disney. The Rosicrucians were formed in the 17th century, or founded in the 17th century, and claimed to possess wisdom passed on to them from ancient times. Today, they're composed of those who study metaphysical laws that govern the universe. I found this to be interesting because I don't know that there's a lot of requirements to become members for some of these other organizations. But if you're a member of the Rosicrucians, you are required to take online lessons once a week regarding a particular idea and experiment, and then they are asked to perform that experiment. So that's, to me, that like you are mentally and physically engaged in your secret society if you're a Rosicrucian, as opposed to some of these other ones where you can just like, and this is no disrespect, so please don't send hate mail, but like if you're a member of the Elks Club or the Moose Lodge, what they're doing these days is having like great fish fries and happy hour specials. And God bless you, because we need good fish fries and we need good 2-for-1s. But they're not, I think when they were originally founded, their purpose was a lot more than that. And it's kind of washed away into maybe not what their purpose was. I think if you're a Rosicrucian, to me, I get the feeling that it's still fairly strict to be a member and that you are required to continuously learn. And that's not a bad thing. We should all be continuing to learn to the day you die. Whether you like to read books, watch documentaries, do online research, whatever, you should broaden your knowledge base every single day of your life until the day you're no longer here. Because I think you take that with you. I don't think that gets left behind. I think that becomes part of who you are and your energy, and you take all that with you forward. So certainly can't hurt. And then you can have intelligent conversations at dinner parties.
You know, the thing that this is kind of another prelude to something that's coming up is, you know, people who are not in the orders or not in these secret societies, how much they are scared and hate secret societies.
Oh, absolutely.
And naturally, it's all about the word secret. Like, I think if you rebranded secret societies to private clubs,
fraternities,
I don't think anybody would pay you any mind. It's all about the whole fear of the unknown.
Yep.
And as these, because we were talking about the satanic panic,
Yep.
And how people started spreading all of these ideas.
Which we still need to go back to that.
Well, right.
Because we never got to part 2. I ended up in the hospital that night. So.
Yes, you did. Which I probably shouldn't say with that much glee.
No, you probably shouldn't.
But you're
this
okay.
Might be a draw moment. This might be the draw the line in the sand moment.
You're okay, which is the only reason
okay.
why
I am okay. Yeah.
So, which is the only reason why I say it like that way. But there, obviously, a lot of religious people, the Catholic Church especially, are the ones that stoke the flames. I mean, obviously the Knights Templar, which is probably one of the biggest and most well-known secret societies, they gave birth to the Illuminati. They gave birth to the Freemasons. I would
argue they gave birth to the Rosicrucians.
They might, that might be too. They might be the original, perhaps, secret society.
Yeah.
Obviously crucified by the Catholic Church for whatever reason they wanted to give.
Pope came after him hard, man.
The thing about this is, and in 1887, there was a Reverend Talmage that wrote a sermon about the moral effects of Freemasonry, Odd Fellowship, Knights of Labor, Greek Alphabet, and other societies. And he said he's got hundreds of personal friends who belong to the orders, and even used Proverb 25:9, which is discover not a secret to another. Which I'm assuming that means leave the people alone. Like, you don't need to learn their secrets. But the same week, a Cardinal James Gibbons, he took a stand on like the secret orders and secret societies and stuff, saying they had no reason to exist, no reason for existence. I'm sorry. And that baffled me, because almost all of these secret societies that I read about have to believe in either a higher power in general or God him or herself. And it's like, what is your issue then? Because you threw out this, there's no excuse for existence, and that these societies are evil and they're a menace to society, and all they want to do is harm people. But yet the basic foundation of them are rooted in religion, or you have to believe in some sort of higher power or God in order to even be a member of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it threw me for a loop that they would have such an issue with them, beyond the fact that they're not the Catholic Church. And that, to me, is probably their main issue. If they can't control it, and it's not part of their, what word I'm looking for, like their line of thought, then obviously it can't exist. You mentioned Isaac Newton. Sorry to skip. He was also, maybe I'm wrong because I got this from the Da Vinci Code, but he was part of the Priory of Sion as well, which is also a secret society. Am I wrong on that one? Or
I don't know. I'm gonna agree with you, because I don't have any knowledge as to disagree with that statement.
Right. All right. Well, so anyway, I just wanted to prelude that for some other secret societies that we're going to be talking about later, was the whole religious aspect of it. But this is how, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say quick, I wonder if some of the people that are in these secret societies, or were obviously some of these big names that we're dropping here, I wonder if they were just given like a, wow, you're really important in our society today. Come on over and you get the free honorary doctorate degree. Like they give away, like you get people that, even today, although you don't hear about it as much, I'm sure it happens frequently. If you looked into it, I'm sure you would find that it's still happening very frequently, that people of importance get like free doctorate degrees from universities. I wonder if something like that was like the case going back in the day, where like Isaac Newton was just somebody who was well respected, and they were just like, you know what, our club probably would get a lot more airplay if Isaac Newton was a member. And so they went, and they're like, dude, you should join.
That's marketing, baby.
It is marketing. It's Rush. It's called Rush Week in the fraternity world.
Celebrity sponsorship.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, the Walt Brimley of secret societies is Isaac Newton. So this to me was one of the first ones I saw about how petty people can be when they kind of go with secret societies, and not so much the reason behind it, but the name. So there's a secret society called the Improved Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks of the World.
Oh, there we go. Elk Club.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned the Elk Club earlier, which is
Sure.
kind of
Fish fry.
made me laugh a little bit. So it was founded in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1899. And the reason for that is there's a benevolent and protective order of the Elks of the World, which is actually still existent today. But they would not, back then, they would not allow African Americans to join. You know, they were...
That's not a surprise.
Yeah, they're obviously racist. And so these two African Americans who got denied access to this because obviously they were black started the Improved Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks of the World.
Yeah, that's not a slap in the face, right?
And I just like,
that's hilarious.
Wow. Like, I don't blame these guys for wanting to start their own club, but it's just one of those, like, really?
Yeah, exactly. You kind of you scratch your head as to why, but at the same time, it's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I understand the purpose behind it because it's one of those slap in the faces.
Right. And, you know, the thing about it is it's still going today. You know, and this goes back obviously to their evil and menacing and all this other stuff. But I mean, this, they feel in modern days, they've become less relevant, which, you know, I get, but, they sponsor educational scholarship programs, youth summer computer literacy camps, parades, and community service activities like throughout the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
How evil is that right there? I mean, I can't believe people would support something like that, as you know, says the fat guy sarcastically. So, I mean, it was interesting to come across this great charity, this great secret society or whatever, if that's still what you want to call it. 'Cause, you know, just started as a, you know, big FU to the, to the people who denied them access.
Exactly. And they turned it into something good, which is what you should do.
Absolutely.
Honestly, if you're gonna, instead of just doing the FU route and then saying, look, we did it, ha ha ha, and then just letting it die and turn into nothing, and you did it just to spite him, instead of taking that route, take the route that they took, the higher road in this case, and turn it into something that benefits all of mankind. And then you really do have the last laugh, because you're like, look, you wouldn't let us in. We said that we were going to bring in great ideas and that we were going to implement things and we were going to be there for social change and that we were going to care about society. And you said, no, we couldn't come in because of the color of our skin. Well, we went ahead and joined and made our own little club anyway. And now look at us. And that's the ultimate last laugh right there.
What's your next one?
I'm going to go with the Bohemian Club. So this is very interesting. And it's funny that this just popped up because I remember watching like a documentary and reading some newspaper reports of journalists that had infiltrated this, the Bohemian Club. So, okay, so the gist of it, and I'm going to get into some details, but the gist of it here, founded 1872, the mission was to escape uncivilized interests, well-known members, presidents, musicians, oil barons, blah, blah, blah. Basically, what that alludes to is the Bohemian Club is a group of rich and powerful Caucasian men who met at the famous Bohemian Grove in late July of every year. The Grove is located in Northern California. It's actually the Redwood Grove, and we'll get more into detail on that in a second. The members stayed in tents and cabins and informally discussed the issues of the day. I'm going to throw the red bullshit flag on that one. Because of the many powerful people who met there, it is rumored that the retreat is where the elite go to decide the direction that the U.S. takes. However, it is just likely a place to relax and drink. Yeah. So anyway, the Bohemian Club is an elite invitation-only social club founded in San Francisco in 1872. Like we already said, like a group of actors, writers, lawyers, journalists that were initially on the surface were interested in arts and culture. Okay. What happened is, as it expanded, politicians and affluent businessmen came to join, then political leaders, other well-known, powerful, rich individuals joined. And there was an expose on this, and I can't find it to save me. I don't know if it was one of those things where they're powerful enough because of its participants where it got taken off the internet and it's just not there anymore. I don't know. But the Grove is in the Redwood Forest in California's Sonoma County. Notable members over the years: Clint Eastwood, Harry Kissinger, Walter Cronkite, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, Charles Schwab, Ambrose Bryce, Bret Hart, Mark Twain, and Jack London.
Bret Hart?
Yeah. So not that Bret Hart, not the Hitman Hart.
Oh, well, you need to be more specific.
Sorry, it's Hart with an E at the end,
Okay.
which I don't know who that is, but
I don't know who that is either.
No, but everybody else is very notable, obviously. So anyway, so founded by a large group, blah, 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 blah. So they gathered regularly to socialize, drink, and put on and enjoy theatrical and musical performances. It became official in the 1930s that they actually created a permanent headquarters on Taylor Street in downtown San Francisco. The annual trip to Sonoma began in the summer of 1878. In the 20th century, members' retreat garnered a reputation for involving highly secretive and cultish rituals, the most well-known of which was the cremation of care, instituted in 1881, an opening ceremony whose purpose was to make the club members carefree from the outset of the retreat. That performance took place in front of a large concrete owl built in 1929 in the center of the camp of Bohemian Grove. So there's one thing I'll tell you right now. And anytime that you build a structure, I don't care what it is, and you start worshiping it, there's some shit going on there. You're not getting together to have cocktails and carefree conversation and musical and theatrical performances when you have a opening ceremony that allows you to throw care to the wind and you're praying to a large concrete owl. I'm not believing that. There's something else is going on there. Anyway, get a load of this. This is the thing that really throws me. You talk about the Bohemian Club. You talk about, oh yeah, you got all these, these people. They're powerful. They're actors. They're politicians. They're presidents, former presidents, media moguls. Charles Schwab, obviously, financial mogul. You would think, or at least my brain would think, there's going to be quite a few people like there. Membership has grown to approximately 2,500. That is, if you're not hand-picking who's getting in the door to the Bohemian Club, your membership would be in the hundreds of thousands of people that are powerful and rich and influencers and great at what they do and top of their game in their profession. 2,500 hand-selected individuals. I find that to be very interesting. That's a red flag to me. The site for the club's retreat covers approximately 2,700 acres and has become highly inaccessible, which further leads mystery to the events and their participants. It is thought that the 16-day encampment, as it is called, involves, among other things, like we talked about, for concerts, theater, informal lectures, which they refer to as lakeside talks, and casual networking and government policy review, all taking place out of the public eye. I think that there's something more going on here. I think we should do a show on this.
The Bohemian Club?
I think so. I think there's something there. I don't know why, but I think that if you're bringing in a group, if you're bringing in only these really hand-selected individuals and you start the whole thing off with doing some sort of sacrificial opening ceremony in front of this concrete owl. To me, that just screams.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, like, the word satanic comes into my mind.
Well, the Illuminati chose the Owl of Minerva as their icon or their emblem or whatever. So maybe it's the Bohemian Club is another name for the Illuminati.
Or maybe it's a branch of like the elite Illuminati.
Perhaps, because the Illuminati was very selective in who they picked as well. In fact, one of their members got in trouble for not being selective enough at the start and trying to recruit people that the founder did not think really really didn't meet the criteria. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, go ahead. I was wrapping mine up, so that was a great segue with the owl thing.
Right. Well, I wasn't going to talk about the Illuminati. I was just going to throw that in there, but because I really want to get to these two really quick because they're
let's go.
To me, they're kind of merged. So the first one is the Ancient Order of the Foresters, which is known today as the Foresters Friendly Society.
Mm-hmm.
It was established in 1834, so very ancient.
Old, for sure. Yeah.
Right? Very, very ancient. And again, according to the society's website, but they had obviously this slightly different name. You know, now obviously they're the Foresters Friendly Society. They started out as the Ancient Order of the Foresters, which I don't get because when you start your society, you can't be already ancient.
No.
You have to be the new order of the Foresters.
Correct. And then at some point in the history of your organization, you become the Ancient Order.
You become the Ancient Order once you reach ancientity.
Right. Whatever that is. But correct.
I think I just created another word. Go me.
I think you did.
So, but here's the thing. The Ancient Order, was created for state health insurance before state health insurance began in England. And so they offered sick benefits to its working class members. So there you go. The very first insurance agency.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But get this. This is what I love. In 1874, the American and Canadian branches left the European order, and they set up the Independent Order of the Foresters. And candidates looking to be admitted to the club had to, quote unquote, pass an examination by a competent physician who is himself bound by his connection with the order, i.e., in network. So when you talk about the insurance companies and you have to go to this doctor, that doctor in the network, you can blame the Foresters for that.
Yeah.
Because they started it.
They did. What year was that?
1874.
Bastards.
Yes. So the society actually, it still exists, but it still provides insurance policies for its members. But they have to engage in a variety of community service activities. I don't know exactly what that means.
Which they should. So it's probably like doing visits to Shriners Hospital or like to children's hospitals, cancer, research hospitals. Maybe doing food shows, for maybe doing Thanksgiving and or like Christmas for the homeless type of thing.
No,
that's what comes to mind.
I get all that. I was just trying to be funny and hint at maybe they have nefarious, quote unquote, community service activities.
Well, maybe they do. Like, who's to say that, and we live in a really weird world, but who's to say that while you're serving Thanksgiving dinner to the homeless upstairs, that you're not plotting the overthrow of Chile in the basement, right?
The overthrow of Chile?
I don't know. I just think Chile came to mind because I've been watching Ancient Aliens and they've been talking about how Chile is like the alien highway with the Nazca lines and stuff like that, how it all lines out to be like an airport runway down the whole coast of Chile. So, and I don't know that it would be that tough to take over Chile. If you're Chilean, I don't mean that in any disrespect. I'm just saying that, it's not a highly populated country.
And I just don't think you have the means of stopping anybody from taking over.
I just don't know if somebody made a legitimate attempt, like how long it would take.
Right. Gotcha.
That's all. No disrespect if you're Chilean.
Right.
Beautiful country.
Not that you would know.
Well, from pictures.
Fine.
It's let's put it this way. The cool thing about Chile, it's one of the only places on the planet Earth that covers every single ecosystem in one country, which is pretty cool, right? You got these incredibly Saharan deserts, all the way to tropical rainforests, all the way to, like what you would find in Greenland and Iceland, all the way down to what we have in LA.
Yeah.
I mean, every single thing in one country.
We don't need to talk about Chile.
No. Well, it came up. I brought it up. So.
I know. So the next one that I want to put towards this is the Ancient Order of United Workmen.
Oh,
which was founded the Ancient Order of United Workmen in 1868. So it's younger than the Ancient Order of the Foresters.
Right.
This was created by John Jordan Upchurch and 13 others in Meadville, Pennsylvania. So this is an American-founded secret society. But it had the goal of bettering conditions for the working class. I can get behind that. That's what the union is. Like the Foresters, it has set up protections for its members. Initially, should a member die, all brothers of the order contributed $1 to a member's family. That number was eventually capped at $2,000. So you have life insurance, thanks to the Ancient Order of the United Workmen.
And how cool is that? And how cool would it be if it still existed today and you were still in it and everybody was doing the 2,000 cap and you had like 250,000 members?
Actually, it doesn't exist today. That was what I was going to say next. The United Ancient Order of United Workmen is no longer around, but its legacy continues as the order unintentionally created a new kind of insurance that would influence other fraternal groups to add an insurance provision to their constitutions. So they pretty much got their ideas stolen, and then they got muscled out of town.
I'm kind of feeling that. I'm kind of feeling like a little bit of the mob move in there. Hey, this is a nice restaurant you got here. I think that we should name it Johnny's, not Rose's.
Think it's under new management.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a fire in the kitchen, and
I would hate for anything bad to happen.
Yeah. So you might accidentally be in that fire, unless you change the name of the restaurant.
So you have one which will probably end on that you said you found all sorts of interesting shit on.
I did, but now I changed my mind. Independent Order of Oddfellows.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right. So I'm going to go with Oddfellows. So this just popped into me. So I'm going to look like a total ignoramus when it comes to the Oddfellows. But I do know a little bit about them. So their whole purpose was, the thing is, I'm pretty sure it's not based on religion at all. Let me take a quick peek here. It's non-political, non-sectarian International Fraternal Order of Odd Fellowship, founded in 1819 by Thomas Widley in Baltimore, Maryland. So the thing that, so the purpose when they were created, the purpose was to visit the sick, relieve the distressed, and bury the dead and educate the orphan. I'm not really sure how that plays out in today's terms, but it's a good motto, I guess, right? Visit the sick. So basically you're going to take care of your fellow man, relieve the distressed. So you're offering comfort to family members, right? That would be the distressed, I guess. Bury the dead. So you're making sure that the individual who passed away has a proper burial and that you're not just dumping the body somewhere. And then educate the orphan would be to, I guess, translating into our terms, would be making sure that the remaining family members, the children, are taken care of and are put through proper schooling. Does that sound right?
Sure. No child left behind.
No, right. Yeah, exactly. So the interesting thing, you can still join these guys today, number one. They accept both men and women. And when the women, when they officially made it open to females, they gave them the name the Daughters of Rebecca, which is interesting. So, but the thing that I want to talk about here is, and I've seen this on a couple of paranormal shows, like for some reason, and I'm sure I'll look it up and we'll talk about it next show, but for some reason, there was like certain individuals who would donate their body to, when they passed, obviously, that would donate their body after they had passed to the lodge. And that the fellow members would basically do an autopsy, I would imagine, and would create a skeleton out of them. And then those skeletons were kept in the lodges. And I don't have an answer as to why that is. But for next week, stay tuned because we will. But I find it really interesting because there's the place that was the Oddfellows Hall, and I don't remember the state it's in, but the guy bought it with his family, big property, big acreage, and he turned it into a winery and kind of a lodge, kind of like a bed and breakfast type of thing where you can go, you can stay. He's got one of the buildings done, restored type of thing. He's got his winery on site. And then you can stay at the main house, the old lodge building, and rent a room and stuff like that and stay there. And it looks like it's really nice. But the thing is, there's a skeleton of a former member, like one of the lodge presidents, that's like in a coffin in the corner of one of the rooms. And it strikes me as a little odd that you would have human skeletons laying around at your lodges. There's got to be a reason behind it. I'm sure it's a reason to them, makes sense. I just find it to be a little odd. I don't know. What's your take on that? Does that seem a little off?
A little bit, but apparently they use these skeletons during initiation to remind its members of their mortality.
Well, that doesn't sound creepy at all.
No, not at all.
So, hey, join our fraternity. And we have a super secret rush initiation, and it involves a dead body.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a little, that to me, maybe it's just because of my background, I don't know. But that to me, that seems a little darker than the whole give person peace as they're dying, no kid left behind, take care of the spouse. Something there with the dead body in the lodge just doesn't, the human skeleton in the lodge just doesn't seem to fit into that pie.
Not everything has to make sense, Dave.
Oh, very true. I am going to dig a little bit deeper for next week, just to see.
Like Lord of the Cats.
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty. Well, that does it for this week. We did have more we wanted to talk about, but we're out of time. So we will be back next week with another brand new episode. So stay tuned for that. For Dave and myself, everybody stay healthy, stay safe. Want to see you back here next week.